Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Pranam, Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam today. And I hope Prabhuji you can see my screen, just confirming. Okay. Thank you. So today's verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3rd, Chapter 17th, and the verse is 5th. So 3:17:5. Before I begin, I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas in person in the temple and online. So far what has happened, we will try to summarize. I know His Grace Shamanand Krishna Prabhu already did yesterday, but it's Saturday. I thought we will just take a recap of how are things going so far in Bhagavatam. So chapter 14, Mother Diti's pregnancy occurs, and that happens at an inauspicious time. And that is the reason she was told that 2 demons will be born out of her womb. And after that, she apologizes to Kardam Muni or Kashyap Muni? Kardam Muni. She apologizes to her husband. She also apologizes to Lord Shiva. And because of her apologetic behavior, her repentance, she was blessed that these 2 demonic children of yours will be killed by none other than Lord Vishnu himself. And also, Prahlad Maharaj will be born, a great devotee of the Lord, will be born of those sons. So Hiranyakashipu, we know, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they are about to take birth in this chapter. Then moving on, while this is happening, Mother Diti's pregnancy, and that's when Brahmaji narrates that my sons 4 Kumaras, they pass by Vaikuntha Loka, and that's when they are stopped by doorkeepers Jay and Vijay. We have been discussing it over and over again for a couple of months. I don't want to go into details. So how this chapter deals with how beautiful is Vaikuntha Loka, how every resident of Vaikuntha Loka has same opulence as Lord Vishnu himself. And finally, when Jay Vijay tried to stop 4 Kumaras who are self-realized souls, but in the form of children, they get cursed, and 4 Kumaras curse them, saying, you will go to the Mritya Loka, Martya Loka. Chapter 16, Lord tries to pacify Kumaras, and Lord explains how this was all part of a plan. And the chapter ends with Jay and Vijay falling down to the material world for 3 births. This is how chapter 16 ends. So chapter 17, verses, we are on verse 5. What do we see now? Birth of the 2 demons is about to take place. So the verse here is Vavayo Vahu Sudush Parshaha Vavo Vayu Sudush Parshaha Futkaran Irayanmuhu Unmulayanna Nagapatina Vatayani Kurajo Dvaja. Shri Radha Gopi Janmalok ki jai. Vayo vayo suhushparsha Futkaran irayan muhu Mulayan nagapat patin Vatayanika rajodvaja. Their blue winds, sorry, I'm not asking you to repeat because it's already late. Their blue winds, which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies and clouds of dust for their ensigns. And the purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by hurricanes, it is to be understood that the demonic population is increasing. And so the natural disturbance is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine and there are always clouds in the sky, snowfall and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demonic people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden, sinful activity. So, when I was reading this verse, I was thinking, Prabhupada is stressing the word here, demonic population is increasing. I was hearing a class by His Grace Gaur Gopal Prabhu, how he is mentioning that in Satya Yoga, the demonic population and the divine population would stay at different planets. Then when we come to, in the Satya Yuga, did I say Satya Loka? Satya Yuga. So they were in different planets. And then when comes Treta Yuga, same planet, we know Lord Ram's pastime. Same planet, but Lord Ram and Sri Lanka, Ravana was in another country, different countries. Then when we come to Dwapar Yuga, we know about Kauravas and Pandavas. They are in the same country, part of a family, like cousins. Now in Kali Yuga, we know that we don't need to go out to look for demonic personalities. Yes, Mataji. So it's within us. And that's what Prabhupada is mentioning. That's what I was thinking when Prabhupada is mentioning that demonic population is rising. We can contemplate on this as how is my tendency, or how to say, what is a demonic tendency in me? We can try discuss on that what are the demonic tendencies in us. Like in this example, we see there's a crisis in the world. It's all darkness, huge cyclones are blowing. Similarly, we can also go through spiritual crisis in life. And how do we understand that? I was hearing a class by His Holiness Radhanath Swami. He's telling that spiritual crisis, actually real spiritual crisis, is when we stop taking shelter of Krishna. Just thinking on my own life, that he was telling actually the example of Dividha, the ape Dividha, and how he narrates very beautifully this pastime, that Dividha is an associate of Hanuman, and Hanuman is a great devotee of the Lord, we know. And in Treta Yuga, Dividha fought with Hanumanji in opposition to Ravana and all the Rakshasa family. So at one point of time, he was with the Lord. Then later on, we'll discuss today that how in Krishna Leela, a couple of years later, how he becomes demonic and tries to kill Krishna because of the association that he has got. So I'm bringing the point that our spiritual crisis is when we move into bad association. That's what is happening with Dividha now. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that he was very, very powerful. His background, if we understand, he was very, very powerful. He had the strength of like 10,000 elephants, it's mentioned. If he would churn the ocean water like this with his hands, it'll be whole pralaya sort of a thing, that much power he had. So we know that Lakshman has always been service oriented, but Dividha had become envious to Lakshmanji. And I was just contemplating, that's what spiritual crisis for us could be as well. When we become fault finding, when we become envious of devotees around us, when we can't tolerate devotees around us. So Dividha was very much praised for his abilities, and he became proud. And that is why, and when pride comes, this is again another kind of spiritual crisis. So because of bad association, because of good abilities, strong abilities, but because of bad association, he got into association of, we'll read further, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains to Murari Gupta, who was actually Hanumanji, and he was a close associate of Dividha. He tells to Murari Gupta in his Varaha form that how his body is transcendental, how Lord does not tolerate devotees, like say example Narakasur. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling this story to Murari Gupta, and he's telling that Narakasur, he was my son. When Hiranyaksha submerged the earth underwater, Lord Vara picked up the earth. He impregnated, like when Varadev touched the body of Mother Earth, he impregnated her with his own child, Bhauma. His name was Bhauma. And himself, Lord instructed him into religious principles. So Bhauma is the son of Lord Varaha. When Lord Varaha picks Mother Bhumi from earth, after she was submerged in ocean. And Lord Varaha himself instructed him, but somehow this Bhauma came in association of Bana. Banasur is an envious demon. And because of wrong association, Bhauma or Narkasur is called as Narkasur as well. He became proud, envious, and from Bhauma he became Bhaumasur. Now Bana, if we understand Banasur's lineage, he's a son of Bali Maharaj. And we know Bali Maharaj is the personification of Atma Nivedana. When we talk about 9 processes on devotion service, Bali Maharaj surrendered himself, Atma Nivedana, fully surrendered himself. So Bana is from that lineage of Bali Maharaj. And his great-grandfather, is Prahlad Maharaj. So 2 great Mahajans in the family. But again, wrong association. With association of Bana, Bhauma got corrupted as well. And Bana was so powerful, it said that he used to worship Lord Shiva, and he would play this drum with his strong hands. And so beautifully he would play the drums that Lord Shiva would dance to his drum sounds. He was favorite of Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva. And then Vanasur's daughter Usha was married to Aniruddha. Now, if we go back, Aniruddha is Krishna's grandson. So Krishna married Mother Rukmani. From Rukmani was born Pradyumna, and son of Pradyumna is Aniruddha. So again, a very solid connection to the Lord himself. But he became very, very proud. He fought against Krishna, and Lord Shiva came, and Lord Shiva helped Vanasur to fight with Krishna. So Bhauma, due to bad association of Vanasur, also became corrupt. And what did he do? He kidnapped 16,000 ladies. He kept them hostage. He attacked demigods, defeated them. He stole Lord Varuna's white umbrella, and which is the insignia of his power, Lord Varun's. And then beyond that, he went and stole by force Mother Diti's earrings. Now, Diti is the mother of the demigods. And to defeat demigods is one thing, but to go one level beyond and try and insult demigods by troubling the mother, it's another level of insult which demigods could not tolerate. So that level of corrupt he had become. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Murari Gupta that Bhaumasur, he was my own son. He was loved by Bhumi, Mother Bhumi, but because of being proud, arrogant, being envious of devotees, he says that I had to kill him. So Lord is telling by his example that no matter how strong connection we make with the Lord, but if we are not respectful to devotees, if we are troubling devotees, we are envious, we are fault finding, we will not be able to sustain in our spiritual life, and there'll be spiritual crisis. Like it mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, Mad Bhakta Puja Bhyadika. Performing first class worship of my devotees is what I always appreciate. One who pleases my devotees pleases me. Same way we know that in Chaitanya Leela, when Mahaprabhu is offended, he will not take it personally. But when Nityanand Prabhu, Haridas Thakur are offended, he will not tolerate. So Bhaumasur, he's offending devotees because of bad association. When we don't follow, when we don't appreciate association of devotees, we will also land into spiritual crisis. So now Dividha is the friend of Bhaumasur and Banasur. So this is the background about Dividha's story. And Dividha got angry because now Bhaumasur was killed by Krishna. So to take the revenge, he started troubling the Dwarika area. He tried to do everything possible. Like I said, ocean, he would just churn the ocean with his strong hands, strong arms, worth 10,000 elephants, and he would cause floods to come. And then after creating a lot of havoc around that area, troubling the sages, he would uproot the trees. He would uproot the mountains like that. That strong he was. And with that, he would spoiling the whole area, trying to kill people, trouble people, because he was revengeful of Krishna. And then what happens? Oh, it's already time. So Dividha tries to avenge Lord Balram as well. And then that's when Lord Balram kills him. So with this story, we understand that, as I said earlier, that our spiritual crisis is when we don't take shelter of Krishna, when we don't take shelter of devotees, when we don't appreciate we don't become grateful to their association, and we start doing fault finding. We've been listening about fault finding so much over the last couple of months with this Jai Vijay pastime. I was just thinking that, of course, we know that it's Lord's plan, but when Jai Vijay tried to stop four Kumaras, four Kumaras, they could have nicely, kindly explained, Mr. Jai and Vijay, we are so and so, we are the sons of Brahma, and we have come to take darshan of Lord Vishnu. But they didn't. And that's what happens at our end as well. If we try to take a humble position, like His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj always stresses on this fact that we can't chant unless we are in the humble mood of the servant of the servant of the servant. And we can't do it with devotees unless we start it at home. Charity begins at home, we say, which is very difficult. But when we say we can't chant with focus, we can't chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra if we are not humble, which means if we are egoistic, we'll not be able to chant. Just trying to reverse the statement, Thrnadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Saheshrana, Amanena Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. One who is humble more tolerant than a tree, devoid of false ego, never demanding respect, always giving, that person is able to chant holy name. But if I, as a practicing sadhaka, do not have taste in the holy name, do not have, taste is a very high thing, do not even have the inclination or interest, like I heard it long time back. Do I have to chant? Is that my attitude? Do I have to chant? Or do I want to chant? Or do I like to chant? Or do I love to chant? Or do I wait to chant? What is our attitude towards chanting? Mukunda, you want to say something? You want to chant? So what is our attitude towards chanting? If we are still not progressing from have to want to like to love to wait to chant, that means we are still in spiritual crisis phase. And how do we get over that spiritual crisis? We have heard so many times Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, these verses, first canto, second chapter, verses 17 to 21, which Prabhupada also uses in his book, in his poem, while on Jalduta, he says, Shunavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridayantostha Bhadrani Vidhunoti Srudatsatam. Means, when we do this Shavana Kirtanam, that's when the hard knots of the heart, abhadrani, all the inauspiciousness is destroyed. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki. So when we do nityam bhagavata seva, like we have these Bhagavatam classes daily, that should become a priority in life. If we want to avoid spiritual crisis in life, we should try and make an effort that morning sadhana is well prepared for the night. Like the night before, we are prepared that tomorrow morning, we sleep with that thought that tomorrow morning, I want to chant good japa. And for that, like any meeting, right? We plan a meeting with somebody, we have an agenda in mind. We have an agenda in mind, okay, these topics I want to discuss in the meeting. And with this focus, I'll go. So like that same preparation we have to do a night before, and right before we start chanting in the morning. So chanting should be our main focus. First thing we do in the morning is we chant good 16 rounds that Srila Prabhupada has instructed us. And for that, we set up the proper mood, the environment. We should have, that's what I try to do, have picture of Gurudev, picture of Krishna, or in front of Tulsi Maharani. And before we begin, we beg blessings by reciting Mangalacharan. As in temple, we do Iksha Ashtakam prayers. And that definitely helps setting up our mood that, yes, Krishna, this 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 40 minutes, I'm going to give to you. This is my personal meeting with you. And once we do japa, then after that, definitely Nityam Bhagavata Seva should be part of our life. So we attend Srimad Bhagavatam. We are very fortunate that we have such amazing Bhagavad speakers over the week that we get to hear their realizations. And that's when we can overcome spiritual crisis. So this is what I wanted to share about the verse. Now, just to end, today is a very auspicious day. It's Vasant Panchami. So happy Vasant Panchami to all of you. And it's the day when Vasant is the 5th day, and Panchami is the 5th day, and it's the Vasant Ritu, means it's the beginning of the spring. So we don't see it much here with snow, but back in India, the flowers bloom, and it's all freshness everywhere. So even deities, and we in our sampradaya, like in bhakti, we celebrate everything connected to Krishna. So we decorate Krishna with beautiful flowers. I see yellow flowers decorating Krishna's body, Radharani's body. So I wanted to share actually this beautiful picture. Yeah, see, if you see this, how Sri Radha Madhav and Ashta Sakhis are beautifully decorated in yellow outfits, flowers, earrings. So pretty. So it's a very auspicious day to begin any activity, to take a vow that tomorrow onwards, if you finish chanting today, tomorrow onwards, I'll be very pakka in my sadhana. At least I'll try. And from I have to, I would like to progress to from have to, want to, like to, love to, and I wait to chant. And also I make it a priority that Nityam Bhagavata Seva. You should try attend Temple Srimad Bhagavatam classes. If not, that's the priority. If not, then to self-study, but always in the association of devotees. That's when we get to hear from realized devotees their realizations, and that's what brings us out of spiritual crisis. That's when we stop, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it's so purifying. We know already that it's none other than Krishna himself. So repeatedly studying will purify us. So this is about Vasant Panchami, and today is also the disappearance day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of our great acharyas. His Krishna Ramanand Krishna Prabhu already mentioned about him yesterday, but just to reiterate, because it's a special day for him, for us, because of his disappearance, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was, he comes in the disciplic succession from Srila Narottam Das Thakur, and he's considered the crest jewel of Vaishnavas because of his pure devotion, scholarship, and realized perception of Radha Gokul Nanda's intimate conjugal pastimes. And he is considered as incarnation of Rupa Goswami. We know Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us such beautiful books like Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. And he was the only one, they say, that could kind of match Srila Rupa Goswami's profound realizations. So his name was Vishwanath Chakravarti. The name itself reveals how powerful he is. Vishwanath is the name of Lord of the universe, Lord Krishna. And Chakravarti means, the one meaning could be he's in the close circle of devotees, Chakra, circle. Another meaning could be one who expands the circle of devotees or devotion. So very powerful Acharya. And during his stay in Vrindavan, he worshipped the deities of Radha Gokul Nanda and Shri Giriraj. And those Govardhan Shila then was actually first worshipped by Lord Chaitanya, then Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Shri Mukunda Das, and so on. Also, there is today's Raghunath Das Goswami's appearance day. And also today is Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi appearance day, who is the consort of Lord Chaitanya. And how beautifully Shamanand Krishna Prabhu mentioned that when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, she was hardly 16 years old. And in his separation, she would chant, like she would chant one round, and one rice grain she would transfer to a pot. And how many rounds she chanted, that much rice only she will cook and have at the end of the day. And so let's all pray to these Vaishnavas on their special occasion that we develop the mood of servant of Krishna. And also try to follow simple instructions that Prabhupada has given us, chanting good rounds and read Prabhupada books. So just 2 instructions. If we follow sincerely, we'll be able to overcome the spiritual crisis that is being mentioned here in this verse. To coming back to summary, this verse is about evil omens everywhere due to the birth of demons from Mother Didi. And what are evil omens for us? Evil omens for us is, I didn't mention this one actually, first one, increasing poisonous snake-like desires. Now, when we see Dvividha, bad association caused him to have bad desires, to insult, to criticize. And that's what happens to us. When we are in bad association, corrupt desires like snake develop, poisonous snakes. And that's what leads to no taste or no inclination for devotional service, lack of enthusiasm, and that's when we try find fault. But where there's Krishna, there is no darkness. Simple formula Mahaprabhu has given us: always chant and never criticize devotees. I didn't spell criticize properly here. Apologies for that. So only when we become humble, then only we can chant. When I feel I'm something, I will not be able to chant. That false ego will never let me take shelter of Krishna. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, when we do that, it cuts the knots of all inauspiciousness. And we have to remind ourselves and try to gauge ourselves how enthusiastic and focused I am in my sadhana. So I would like to end here. It's 9:05. Thank you all for tolerating me. And please let me know if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for improvement. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mataji, thank you so much for the nice class, Mataji. You mentioned about now we have to rise from. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can hear you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. From the stage of have to, want to, love to, and wait to. That was really nice, Mataji. Very striking. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for tolerating me. If there are no questions here as well, would like to end.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandat Pranam. Allah Prabhupada. Thank you for the wonderful class. So Mataji, a quick question. So you stated that if we are not humble, we'll not be able to chant, and if we have ego, then we'll not be able to chant. But that's our state. So, but still we are chanting. So how do we contemplate this?
In my understanding, if we sincerely follow instructions which Prabhupada has given us, like chanting, try to chant sincerely, and also reading Srila Prabhupada books. I'm sure you have already realized it, that over the years, our ego level has gone down, and our taking shelter has increased of Krishna, not of material things. So I think it's a process, and the only thing needed is our determination and our enthusiasm. And as I said, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So when we follow simple do's and don'ts, it will happen in no time. Only thing needed is our desire and our sincerity. I hope I answered your question, Prabhuji. Apologies if I did, but that's what I have realized, that when we keep Krishna in the center, when we prioritize our japa, our sadhana, that helps bring our, and anyhow, if we are egoistic, material world is going to somehow or the other snatch, or how do you say, take away whatever we are proud of. So yeah, Prabhuji, that's what I feel.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we will end.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandat Pranam, Mataji. Nice to see you, Mataji. Bahut happy. Too happy, Mataji, you are coming. And here your class is so wonderful, Mataji.
Thank you. Hope to meet you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. We will end.
Nayana Sundari Mataji ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakti Vrind ki jai. Nitaya Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Bolo Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam.